Thanks everybody for joining us today. Today we're joined by Dominic Adorno. He is the newer CEO at DonorConnect in Utah. And Dominic, thank you for joining us and for doing this interview. Really appreciate it.
Thanks for the opportunity and good to be with you, Steve.
All right. So let's kick off. Obviously, as you and I were discussing, you've been in the community for a while. But what led you into your career in organ donation? What got you started in this field?
Well, shortly after high school, I joined the military. I joined the Navy. I was stationed aboard the USS Carl Vinson, which was an aircraft carrier, and I worked as a hospital corpsman. And I got a chance to observe a surgery, and I knew at that point that's what I wanted to do for the rest of my life, be a surgeon. I think I heard similar stories with many people working in the opioid world.
Yeah.
After my military career was done, I went to Loyola University in Chicago with the intention of going to medical school. A few years into school, I really felt the desire to get involved in the medical community. So I told myself I'm going to take 1 year off and I'm going to go become a surgical tech so I can get involved in surgery. Um, Once I completed that program, I went back to Loyola and I started working in the evenings. And I worked at Northwestern University in Chicago. And I met some surgical techs that were per diem tissue recovery technicians. And they sold me on the job and told me how fantastic it was. So I reached out to the OPO and I knew nothing about organ or tissue donation, just that I wanted that job and that would help me get to where I wanted to be professionally. They had no roles available on the tissue side, so they called a surgical recovery coordinator, and I took the job, and I never looked back. That was in 2001. It's been obviously a big part of my career, the best decision I could ever made. I met my wife at the OPO, and I couldn't imagine doing anything differently. I will say that 1 year break from my undergraduate lasted 16 years. So my brother teases me for how long I've gone to school, but it was a great decision.
That's a great story. And first of all, thank you for your service. Appreciate you serving the country. But great story. And talking about that, because obviously you came from a military background, you've served, spent some time in the actual recovery, hands-on. You've got a surgical tech background. What does that bring to your leadership style, and how would you describe your leadership style? And then how do you use that to motivate your team members at DonorConnect?
Yeah, it's a great question. I learned a lot of valuable lessons in the military. It shaped a lot of who I am. But I think in terms of leading teams here at the OPO, I don't know if I would use that same framework that we had in the military. Yeah, I was lucky very early on in my professional career to work for some people who I felt were transformational, really inspired me to want to become a leader. So obviously, I think transformational leadership, inspiring, motivating, empowering people to realize their greatest potential, is something that I really aspire to be. Um, I'm committed to motivating my team to push the boundaries of what's possible. I continually ask them to redefine what's possible, look to the community to see what other people are doing. That's very encouraging. I try to encourage creative thinking and challenge my team, beyond the conventional constraints. Um, and over the last 3 or 4 years, I've really focused on becoming an effective situational leader, right? So, as a new member of DonorConnect, navigating the unknowns of the pandemic, um, you know, being flexible and adaptable with the current environment we're in and the disruption. I really think that need to be able to flex the different leadership styles to fit the situation is so critically important to, um, you know, have the confidence of your team. So those are the two frameworks that I think, sorry, little running nose here, that I identify with and aspire to be as a leader. So I would say a transformational leader and a situational leader.
And obviously it's great coming into the situation you're in. And obviously, as you talked about the pandemic, we've all had to pivot. And I think we see that every day as leaders. You constantly have to pivot and deal with different situations that arise. So coming with that framework, that's great. Um, talking about that, you come into an OPO that's a successful OPO. Obviously, you're coming in and trying to build on top of that. So what are your goals and your priorities as a new CEO coming
Yeah,
in?
it's a great question. I had to actually, part of my interview here, I had to talk about current challenges and opportunities that the OPO is facing. And based on that, what would be my goals and objectives? Um, yeah, I'll start by saying, I'm really proud to be a part of DonorConnect. They're doing great work. Um, so, the very first thing is just to continue the work that's, was started long before I got here, and encourage and foster an environment where people feel empowered to keep making strides in whatever division they're operating in. I had certain objectives that I came in, increasing the donation and transplantation rate, uh, focus on effective resource management and planning, um, effective external engagement and collaboration. But I talked about two strategic anchors for the plan that I had, and that was really in becoming a more diverse, equitable, and inclusive organization, as well as becoming more effective and efficient. One of the big lessons that I learned, and we just talked about the situational leadership, was just becoming more agile as an organization, being more flexible and nimble. I think we tend to fill our plates up personally and professionally, and certainly throughout the organization. And having some bandwidth to be able to move in the direction that the industry is moving in is really important. So I think, gaining that efficiency, reducing that waste, becoming more effective, building highly reproducible systems will better position us for any of the uncertainties that lie ahead. So that's kind of what I'm trying to, my impact on DonorConnect is to really focus on the efficiency and effectiveness of the organization.
Yeah. And you spoke in there about challenges, and as part of your interview, you had to think about the challenges and how do you approach those and how do you make those difficult decisions? Obviously, you're putting in place a lot of great frameworks for your team to make those, but some of those decisions rise to you, and how do you approach that?
Yeah, I think one thing that I have really honed in over time is just my temperament. I've gone through a lot of personal health challenges that have really, I think, shaped my perspective, given me a unique perspective on the things that I can influence and things that I can't. Um, I really am drawn to this poem by Charles Swindoll. It's called Attitude. At the end, it says, life is 10% what happens to you and 90% how you react to it. So, Dennis Wagner always talks about leadership is a choice, and we have a choice in how we respond to things. So I really try to focus on the way I show up, and I think that how that impacts my team. Certainly, one of the things I learned from one of my mentors, Kevin O'Connor, was just the clarity on the main thing and having that be the kind of driving and guiding force into the decisions that we make. Uh, and certainly seeking counsel, both internally and externally, when I need to. I have a great team here. So when I'm looking at complicated decisions or challenging decisions, I want to make sure that I'm checking the temperature of my team. One of my favorite but unfortunate stories to tell whenever I'm asked in an interview, like, tell me about a time you've made a decision that was, didn't have the intended result. Um, I was at Donor Network West, and I was a young leader, new leader, and we had to sterilize our instruments for other recoveries, but we didn't have our own processing facility, so we had to use the autoclaves at the hospital. It wasn't a very effective system, and at that time, there was some new retractors, some abdominal retractors that were being put in the market that were collapsible. And I was like, these are fantastic. We can package them up. Um, Never talked to my team about it. Just went ahead and spent like $20,000 on retractors. It turns out that the way that they opened, the big extending arm went right into the stomach of the surgeon. So they were literally bending over the table, and they obviously did not like them. And it was a complete waste of money. And at that point, I realized the impact and importance of really making sure that you're engaging with the people who do the work every day, um, so you can make better informed decisions. So I think overall, just coming with an even killed temperament, choosing to be positive. It was Colin Powell that says perpetual optimism is a force multiplier, right? So I think that really resonates with my team. Having clarity, on why we're here, using the main thing to drive decisions, and then just partnering with the right people.
That's a great way to approach leadership. And you mentioned some great leaders in there. I mean, not just Colin Powell, Kevin O'Connor, Dennis Wagner, great either mentors or other leaders to draw on for experience.
Yeah, I'll add Phyllis Weber. When I talked about those transformational leaders, she was kind of the first person I really looked up to. When it was then California Transplant Donor Network. So those are the people I think that have helped shape my views and my perspective as a leader. So yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Shifting gears just a little, let's talk about what you do outside of work. What's the most adventurous thing you've ever done outside of OPO work?
I'm not really an adventurous person. I think, again, I've had some unfortunate things happen to my health that have really made me be more cautious. I certainly joining the military at that age was adventurous. Maybe a medical mission. I went off on my own or with a group for 2 weeks down to Bolivia and did a medical mission where I was a surgical tech and got to do cleft lip and cleft palate repairs. Really getting immersed in the community down there was, I think, adventurous at that time. Also helped reinforce my desire to work in some type of service industry, certainly the medical field, but I think much of my career has been focused on service, whether volunteering or throughout my profession.
That's great. Anything else you want to share with your OPO colleagues?
In general, yeah, I'm really proud to be a part of this community. I think despite the uncertainty ahead, I think I continue to be inspired. I think there's a lot of opportunity for us as an organization, as an industry. I'm still proud of the collaboration that still exists despite what we're all facing. I'd encourage us all to continue redefining what's possible, challenging the status quo. I think one of the things that makes our industry special is the level of collaboration, but I think at the same time, collaboration can also lead to the status quo, right? When you become overly reliant on consensus and conformity, and not collaboration itself, just the way it's managed. So I would encourage us all just to continue to be diverse in thought, have open dialogue, committed to trying new things, setting bold aims like AOPO and it's 50,000 transplants by 2020 in 2026. I think we're well on our way there. We're setting our own bold aims here at DonorConnect for 300 donors and 850 organs transplanted in 2026. So I think I'm really encouraged, and I don't want the challenges and uncertainty really to kind of hinder people's ability to move forward in an effective way. So everybody's doing a great job and committed. We're making great strides as a community. And I would just encourage more of that.
Great words for your colleagues, and those are great goals for you guys setting. Hopefully you get there. Obviously, we're that plays into us succeeding in 50,000 organs transplanted in 2026. So we appreciate you challenging your team to help the whole community reach that goal. So thank you.
Recently had a large hospital symposium. It was really well attended, and I put that aim out there, that goal out there. I think it was a little shocking to some, but that's what bold aims are there for us.
Yeah. I mean, you have to challenge yourself to break through some.
And you look at just the performances of many OPOs this year, just having saving more lives than ever before. Many OPOs, so it certainly can be done. I've seen other OPOs do it. So,
well, thank you and your team for your commitment. So, well, Dominic, thank you for joining us. Thank you for taking some time out of your schedule. I know you're extremely busy. So we really appreciate you spending some time with us.
I appreciate the opportunity. It's always a good chat with you, Steve.
Thanks.